Welcome to the podium. It's your host, Spencer Nnia Nwodo, and I'm here with you again for another incisive and interesting interview. The podium is a program that comes to you on Prime View TV weekly, normally on Thursdays between the hours of 7 and 9. And yes, we have other programs on on Prime View. We have the podium, we have Straight Talk with Mystic Merlin, and we have Seller King's program, the Seller King, Hangout with Seller King. I'm excited today, and I have a notable Igbo gentleman, a man who the Igbo people are very proud of. He's over here in the UK with us, and I'm delighted. I'm so pleased. I'm actually starstruck once again, to have with me a man that some people have said has so much to offer to Nigeria. I'm pleased to introduce to you, and we're just going to have a discussion with him, a relaxed discussion, but I can't be relaxed because it's someone who I've always wished to have to talk on the podium. I'm delighted to say we're going to talk today with Chief Barrister John Nnia Nwodo. He is the President General of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo worldwide. And I'm delighted to have you on the program, sir.
Thank you for having me, Spencer.
Yes, sir. Sir, we've been so happy to have you. Since we heard you've been in the UK, we couldn't but insist that we must grab some time with you to give us a little talk. And we know it's these days on social media, everything goes across the world. So we heard that, we know there's an event today in the UK, in London, organized by Diaspora Ohaneze UK. We'd like to know, you obviously you're a special guest in the event. We'd like to know why this event was put together and why you made it a point of call to turn up at this event, sir.
I think I'm a special host, not a guest.
Okay, that's it, sir. Yes.
It's an Ohaneze affair. It's important for me to be here. First, to encourage Igbos here in their attempt to be united, to lean on each other, and to pursue common goals. This event is going to dramatize our culture in various ways, and our host community has been invited, and I'm already told as we're speaking that there are a number of British people there and tourists. It is also going to be a fundraising for the acquiring of an Ohaneze house, so that our meetings, our social interactions will be in a place that is our own. I do hope that it will also provide atmosphere to groom our children in our nuances, our language, our culture, our poetry, our dance, and what have you. So that going out of Nigeria and out of Igbo land, they are not denied of access to our custom.
And yeah, you talked about the language. Is that, there's this study that says that in the few years' time, even you mentioned it the other day in Westminster Parliament Hall, Igbo language is at the risk of going extinct.
That's what UNESCO
Yes.
said.
Okay.
And for that reason, the state governments in Igbo land have made Igbo a compulsory language in our elementary schools. And it is hoped that it will give opportunity for children who don't speak Igbo in their homes to speak it in school, and learn it in school, and examine it in school. And for languages, you pick them more easily when you're young. And I do hope that will help. When I was going to school in England, I found that many parts of the world have affinity for their language.
That's very true.
Most of my Chinese classmates spoke China effortlessly. Most of my Indian classmates spoke India effortlessly. My Swahili classmates not only spoke Swahili, but they spoke English with a Swahili accent, and they had no apologies for it. Coming back to Nigeria, the Hausa and the Yoruba classmates of mine spoke their native language effortlessly. Fortunately, each Igbo man who spoke Igbo preferred to reply you in English, to demonstrate his capacity to speak English very well, perhaps better than those that it is indigenous to. But over time, we have come to realize that you acquire a special skill to speak different languages because you think in different language formations. The model of your product is enriched by this thought process.
Okay, and sometimes we wonder that, being Igbo has been to a certain extent, a conquered people in quotes. Do you say that has an impact into why some Igbo people don't really want to identify with the language? It's that, has the Biafran War has it? Do we have that defeatist kind of reasoning? Is that part of the problem we're having?
Listen, I quarrel with your word conquer. If you look at pre-colonial Nigeria, every part of Nigeria except Eastern Nigeria was conquered by someone else. The West was conquered by Fulanis, and they expropriated the rule of Ilorin to the House of Fulani oligarchy. The Middle Belt was attacked by Fulanis, but they were resisted by the chiefs. But a number of them in other parts of northern Nigeria were routed. The Hausas were attacked. Their rulership was supplanted, with Emirates of Fulani descent. Yeah. And the Igbos were the ones who didn't have anybody around. And that's why we're very independent, individualistic, courageous, and assertive people. We have never been under anybody's subjugation. We were not defeated in the war. We were consumed by a conspiracy of international forces who were interested in our oil reserves. If we were left alone to fight with our Nigerian invaders, we would have conquered them. The war, in fact, made me feel more Igbo than I felt. During the war, we refined our own crude oil. When we distilled petroleum at various temperatures of heating on crude oil, we built our refineries by local metal materials, and we used our sand, our molten sand, which we use for building bricks for houses. We used it to plaster the steel cabinets in order to increase insulation and to have a rapid rise of temperature. And I saw this come and we drove cars with them. We made incendiary bombs, we made rockets. Our bombs were called Ohaneze because all pellets of metals and invasive ornaments were put in it in order to ensure that on explosion it can have maximum damage. We bombed bridges. We had aircrafts converted into fighters and Biafra. So I don't know how anybody could say we built runways. We had our own airports, and when they were bombed, we rehabilitated them in less than 24 hours. Our army engineers were up and doing. Yes. So I think that anyone who comes from Igbo land should feel extremely excited. Yes. I mean, the war ended in 1970, and it's about 49, 50 years next year. And Nigeria has not appropriated any of the Igbo technology. And the world is all about skills today.
That's true.
And right now, if you go to Aba, you can fabricate any part of the motor vehicle in Aba. We make shoes for exports, we make clothes for exports, all sorts of things are done in Aba. Leather things are made for export. I mean, most of the alternative source of revenue other than oil is produced in places like Aba in Nigeria, other than food and agricultural products. So the Igbo ingenuity came alive at the end of the war. Look, my friends, if you go around Nigeria, outside the indigenous population in every state outside Igbo land, the next largest population are Igbos. In spite of the victimization and marginalization, we rise significantly in the economic sector of those cities. Look for a hotel, Look for transportation, you'll find us dominant in it. Look for tailoring, you'll find us present. The pulsating phenomenon. You know, you find hairdressers were there. You know, you find growing of agricultural products, you know, we are there. Transportation of food up and down, we are there. If you created a franchise for Igbo luxurious buses and prevented anyone who does not register with the franchise from coming, Igbos will completely monopolize it.
That's true.
Right now, domestic air transportation is heavily in the hands of Indian operators, you know, notwithstanding our economic strangulation as a result of a deliberate policy to keep us out of power and out of economic benefits.
So, sorry, sir, is it a deliberate policy by the Nigerian government, or are we enemies to ourselves
Haven't you
too?
heard the Emir of Kano say there was a policy by the North and the Yoruba to keep the Igbo out of power, and that he doesn't advance this anymore because it is aimed at a generation of Igbos who were not part of the war and whose hostility to Nigeria could be counterproductive. Haven't you heard the Sultan of Sokoto say that the Igbos are a sizable part of the possession of economics and social life of Sokoto? I went to Kano and they told me that if the Igbos went away from Kano when they gave us a good notice, that we will not have the same Kano that they have. So, if this is acknowledged by our brethren of other ethnic origins,
Yes.
why should anybody feel defeated?
Yes. No, and next question I'm going to come to is, how haven't we as a people been able to harness this ingenuity that we have to bond together as one? For instance, in the UK here, I know there are so many other social, cultural Igbo groups, for instance, of which I know Ohaneze is the apex group. But why can't we, you know, put aside these egos as a people and forge ahead in one unison?
I think you're being too judgmental on our people. There is no ethnic group that does not have this kind of division.
That's true.
There is none. So, Afenifere has two major factions. Ohaneze has only one dissenting member of the national
Yeah,
executive.
but we have so many.
I'm coming. I mean, you know, there is no part of Nigeria that does not have part of this problem. In northern Nigeria today, there's a class war between the haves and the have-nots. Zamfara is on fire. Rural Sokoto is on fire. The president's own state, Katsina, is on fire. Our district head has been under captivity for more than 50 days. And he's the father-in-law of the helicopter president, and he still cannot be found. This hasn't happened.
You're still missing reason, yeah.
This hasn't happened, Governor. You know, our people are too enterprising and too ambitious, and for that reason, we have an exaggerated democratic egalitarian culture, which emphasizes on I first. And so it's very difficult to be loyal to leadership. Everyone thinks that he has something different to offer. And rather than offer it in a collective whole, wants to start an independent organization where he will be reckoned with. That is dying now since we came on board. I have reconciled Igbos in Ghana. I have tried in Bayelsa. I have tried in Oyo State. You know, in areas where I found different camps of Igbo, I have tried to reconcile them, and we're working on that in Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And I must confess that prior to this, Ohaneze has been immersed in so much internal crisis that has diffused the capacity of its leadership to be assertive, you know, and to intervene gregariously.
Yes.
And we're like a mustard seed. I'm sure that if you go to Iceland, you probably find an Igbo man.
Everywhere. People were all over the world. And that leads me on to the next question, which is a while ago you mentioned about the need for an official Igbo census, which I think, was it Ohaneze that was going to sponsor it, or you were pushing for it to happen by
Actually,
government?
when we had the quick notice in northern Nigeria, we tried to do a census of our people in northern Nigeria. And we used our parochial organizations, our town units. You know, everywhere the Igbo man is, everyone who comes from the same town has a town union. And from there they have a state union. So all the town unions that exists in wherever they are domiciled, those who come from the same state have a state organization. And the state organizations fuse together to give birth to OHANEZE in those areas. And so during that quick notice, there was a logistic problem. What kind of number of people are we dealing with? Supposing this quick notice becomes real, what do we need to evacuate them into safety? And so we asked every town, who are your members? How many families are there? How many children? How many apprentices? How many drivers? How many employees of Igbo origin? And at the last count, we had 11.6 million Igbos in northern Nigeria.
Just in North alone?
Yes.
Wow.
And in Abuja alone, we had 2.2 million. Now, we are trying to start an Ndi Igbo register. We've just got an approval from Igbo Ohaneze to put a minimum of 100 naira a month for every Igbo man to pay to an Ndi Igbo fund. And there are classified memberships, bronze, gold, diamond, and they will be pegged with how much you can pay depending on how much you volunteer to pay. And some are prepared to pay 1,000 a month, some are prepared to 5,000, some are prepared to pay a lot more. And they will be in our books of records, but we will then use it to invade infrastructural development in the southeast. Mark you, no country has grown exponentially without the private sector being the driving force. So when you talk about government marginalization, Nigeria is too broken down to be any use to anybody. Right now, we spend 69% of our national revenue on servicing our debts without retiring the principal. As I was in the plane, I read a Bloomberg recent report that it is now 70%, and it will be 83% in 2023.
So without that,
we have the highest debt portfolio in Africa. We are the world's poorest nation. The rate of poverty grows more exponentially in Nigeria than anywhere else. Oil, our main source of revenue, is declining in terms of value because of the ascendance of electric power and recyclable energy. So very soon we won't be able to have that access to the oil, and the federal government won't even be able to be as ubiquitous as it is in capital development.
Okay, and there is this notion going by our Facebook feeds that the younger generation has this negative perception of the Ohaneze and Ndi Igbo. And going by what happened with the iPod movement, which had a large swell of younger people following them. And I'd like to know what the Ohaneze and Ndi Igbo are doing to try and change this negative perception of the group.
This is media manipulation by a few of the youths, I must say. And it is not done with any objective criteria. Look, my friend, I became president of Students' Union at the University of Ibadan at the end of the war. And I was like 21, so 22 when I became. So I was exposed to leadership at a very young age. I became special assistant to the president of Nigeria at 28. I became minister at 31. Okpara became premier in his 30s. So did Singh. So look, I am an example of youth assertiveness. I cannot destroy the history of my own being. So anybody who tells you that is telling you a lie. Now I have a virile youth wing in Ohaneze, which asserts itself, and I made their president a member of the National Executive Committee, so he sits with us. So there's a learning process, just as the president of the National Women Wing is a member of the National Executive. I encourage that. When you disagree with people on modus operandi and they see it as suppression, it is the falling intellectual level, the ability to respect different opinion we are all Igbos unanimous about the way we are treated in Nigeria, our marginalization into a few states, our little share of national revenue, our lack of effective representation in the commanding heights of the bureaucracy as well as the economy, the preferential allocation of oil blocks emanating from our homeland to people outside our homeland, our economic dispossession, there's no question about it. And we have, where this feeling has crept in, is where we have a difference in our approach to the solution to this problem.
Yes.
Something the approach is to repeat the past and declare Biafra and fight for it. I was a soldier in Biafra. You cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. I saw carnage around me. I saw hunger and destruction.
Yes.
I saw people lose everything they ever worked for. We were reduced to 20 pounds for every bank deposit that we had. I saw children lose their parents, huddled into a motherless baby's home without food, without medicine. I saw C-130 aircrafts not meant for passenger transportation, transporting little 2-year-olds to neighboring countries in Africa without documentation. And in the case of a turbulence, they hit their cranium on the metal parts of the car and died in transit. Today we have Igbos dispersed all over South Africa and Central Africa without our ability to assess them. In fact, only recently, there was a legal suit against the president of Gabon by his opponents,
that he was
Igbo.
Yeah,
we are not even able to know whether he's Igbo and where he comes from in Igbo land. This is the effect of war. It took all of us back. There are many ways you can achieve the same objective while minimizing the casualties. And in my view, the most reasonable way to go now is to campaign for a restructuring of the Federation. And gladly, the entire southern Nigeria and the middle belt of Nigeria and many parts of northeast and northwest Nigeria have come to the conclusion that this is the only way out. The thing is that we have a military-like democracy which does not admit of freedom of expression, freedom of exchange of opinion, and freedom of legislators to follow their conviction and the conviction of those who voted for them.
And you know, I think since you're here, you need to clarify a few things for us. There's this comment we got on Facebook the other day about the Ohaneze turning the other way when the Nnamdi, the Python dance turned up. That the Ohaneze didn't do anything. That the Ohaneze were given huge sums of money, or a certain amount of money. There's some figures out there by the presidential contestant in the last elections, and that the Ohaneze is all about money. So I just, since you've come, what's been your experience since you took over?
When you want to spin a story, you have to color it. And when people say things that cannot be substantiated, you just have to neglect them. Silence is the best attitude to a fool. Let me be frank with you. My first speech as president of Ohaneze, I will send it to you. I devoted a paragraph.
I think I've seen it. I've seen it. Yeah.
I said, these are my children. Their struggle is my struggle. What greater endorsement could I give to IPOB? I completely believe in everything IPOB is doing, but for the fact of exposing our children to people whose aim is to maim and kill. There are many ways. Mao Zedong fought a guerrilla warfare, and he still got his objective. He didn't face his people to an outright confrontation. Gandhi fought a revolution by just boycotting. Mbono Ojike said, boycott the boycottables. Francis Ibiam renounced his knighthood.
Nelson Mandela.
Now, there are many ways of fighting the struggle without exposing your people to harm. Now, regarding the Python dance,
yes.
I challenge anyone, including the military or the federal government of Nigeria, to find any way that Ohaneze or Nnia Nwodo was involved in the conspiracy that brought them to the streets of our. Yes, I condemned it. I addressed the Southeast governors on it.
when the Southeast governors decided to prescribe public activities of IPOB as well as public python dance of the military in the Southeast, I felt it was a good measure to stop confrontation. If they invaded Nnamdi Kanu's house, I was not party to it. I couldn't have been. Nnamdi Kanu had his own issues with the military as well as the police formations in Abia State. And because he had a Biafran security service, which was holding a guard of honor on a public highway every day, and which was not registered, nor did it have an enabling resolution of the House of Assembly to create it. All our vigilante organizations were enabled by a creation of the House of Assembly, and all their weapons are licensed by the Nigerian police. So you cannot sue moto on your own, create a security service which has no link with existing vigilante groups and want to operate it independent of extant laws. That's lawlessness. You are inviting the wrath of the law enforcement officers. And when they come, you look for Nwodo to blame for it, in spite of all the advice I gave him in my house that this is not the way to go. I regret the fact that he's in exile because he is a very good instrument of mass mobilization of our views. He speaks to power in a manner that people who are angry should do. And I admire him for it. But his sharp ends needs to be blunted so that we can all be part of the same movement with little casualties.
Okay, sir, and then I'm going to wrap it up with two questions now. First one is we've heard a lot of people saying that they wish for
There is something I didn't answer.
Okay, what's that, sir?
You said that Ohaneze was giving money during the election.
Okay, yes.
And it's important.
That's an allegation.
Yes. I was not asked this question in IIT when I went to IIT, and I raised the question myself.
Yes.
Some say we were given 300 million by Atiku.
That's figures like that, yes.
Now I challenge Atiku, and I challenge the Nigerian security. Go public. If there is any law which prevents the owner of an account from being exposed without the consent of the owner of an account, I hereby waive those limitations. I do so now as I speak to you. I want every account that I've been involved in to be published openly, and every money paid into there I can account for.
Even that of the Ohaneze group. So?
Yes, even that of Ohaneze. Let me tell you something. You know, I'm grateful to God. I was born into a family with a great sense of discipline and moral probity. My father was minister. My father didn't leave government with any staggering amount. My father's greatest assets was what he left behind. My father built 2 secondary schools in my community. It was more important for him to show the light so that the people will find a way. I live in the house that my father built when I was in Standard 1 after being minister twice in Enugu. And if we should divide my father's estate, it's probably my father's best property. And I'm not the first or the second son, so it probably not come to me. So at 67, I don't even have a home that I have built for myself in Enugu. I live in my father's home. Now, my friend, I left Save Shagare's government with 13,000 naira in my account. And I made it public. Nobody has controverted it. I went to Abdul Salam Abubakar's government. I left with no riches. Why should I, as president of OHANEE, look for money in order to make people vote for a presidential candidate? If Atiku gives me money, how do I convince Atiku to restructure Nigeria when he gets there? Well, I felt that Atiku had a program which addressed the Igbo concerns in Nigeria, which is restructuring. 2, since Alex Ekwueme left the vice presidency of Nigeria in 1983, we have not had an Igbo man in the presidency. And Atiku extended his hand of friendship to us by not just choosing an Igbo, but choosing an Igbo of reckoning. Peter Obi was not just governor of Anambra State, but Peter Obi changed the trajectory of growth in Anambra State. Anambra climbed from 14th in the performance of school certificate in Nigeria to number 1. Anambra became number 1 in the states that attracted the greatest number of foreign investment from international donor agencies. You understand? Anambra infrastructure grew to be number 1 in Nigeria in terms of road development, growing exponentially from Ngige's time, but with greater expansion under Peter Obi. Anambra was the state that saved the highest amount of money for its state as a collateral for further investment. And today, in the loan profile of the states, Anambra is number 1 in terms of the lowest amount of debt. So a man like this is not like what the Igbos call Mburaji Jobu. When you're a titled man in Igbo land, you hold a walking stick. When you go to a meeting, you put the walking stick, you slant it. The walking stick doesn't speak, it's the man who speaks. Peter Obi is not a walking stick. He has a voice, and a very informed voice. And in the private sector.
Because he was seen as a spare tire.
He has done.
You know, in Nigeria,
No, but it's not true.
How
many Igbos have built a bank like Fidelity Bank as it is? Not to talk of his other private investments. This man is not a man who, in a meeting, the Vice President of Nigeria is statutorily the chairman of the National Economic Council. When Ekweme was Vice President, he made sure that in the national budget there was equity in the distribution of capital projects. He was going to start a flat steel project in Onitsha before the coup happened. He said there was already one in the north, Alaja. Ajokuta. There was one in the south, Alaja, and he needed one in the south. And he wanted to be executive council. He wanted to be economic council. When you have nobody reflecting a sense of equity at that high level, your representation is void.
And sir, I must say, and that's why some people are saying, are you willing to offer yourself up? As in, say, 2023, 2027? Yeah. As the president of Nigeria, as an Igbo.
As President General of OHANEE,
yes.
I am not supposed to join any political party.
No, we're talking about when you leave.
I'm coming, but I leave office in the next 17 months. And when I leave, it is goodbye to public office, whether by appointment or election. I lost my wife 5 years and 9 months ago. My wife was, and still is, even in death, my closest friend. I made a promise to her on her dying bed that I will not be in public office so that I can devote time to the training of our children. I was forced by the leaders of thought of my state to take up this office as President General Ohaneze. My children already tell me that they've lost their mother who is dead, but they've also lost their father who is alive. I mean, nothing can be more important than parentage.
But the service nationhood,
No,
we
but
might need you
I tell you,
as
I'm
an
one-
Igbo flag
I'm
bearer
one of
to
those
take it on
who
for us.
do
You have
not-
all the time, sir.
I'm-
People are.
can
You
I
have
say-
numerous fans.
You're gagging me.
Sorry, sir.
I'm one of those who believe that nobody is indispensable. I started exposure to public office at a very early stage, as I told you. You know, I was special assistant to President of Nigeria at 28. I was minister at 31. I was minister again at 54. I am President General Ohaneze now. I've been chairman of Urban Development Bank. It is a vote of no confidence on the likes of you if I continue to remain in politics. I have not forgotten anything there. And I think people as young as you should be encouraged to step forward.
You're paving way for the youth.
This is the time.
Yes.
It was at that age that the young people like Zeke in those days stepped out.
Okay, on this note, I'd like you to further advise the youth in diaspora in Nigeria as to how to conduct themselves, how to, given the wealth of experience you've had, how to forge and make it in, especially Igbo youths.
When we were growing up, the goal was education. And everyone wanted to go to the university. It's important to go to school now, but it's important to choose what to learn. The skills that make for growth now are not the theoretical skills of physics, chemistry, biology, what have you. The trajectory of the world is changed. As you know, today, electric energy is destroying fossil oil-driven machines. And so, your know-how in electric energy, your know-how in digitalization, computer know-how, forming models of computer. Kodak was the largest photographic company 15 years ago. It's completely collapsed. You know, just like fossil oil-driven cars will soon collapse. Very soon, we will have a tricorder which can scan your retina, which can diagnose 300 elements in your body, and will make doctors redundant. Already we have ABN Watson in America, which gives 90% more legal advice than a human chambers can. So it's important for our young people to look out for what gives me a skill that makes me indispensable in the workforce. You've got to look for me. That is the instrument for growth. Number two, stop being laid back. The world is full of opportunities. You've got to go out there and look for them and grab them. When I was going to school here, I lived very close to the Buckingham Palace. I lived in Knightsbridge, and I used to pass there every day, and I look at the Great Brigade of Guards. They had a motto which says, "He who dares wins." You can't be on your backside and you're jealous of people who have made it because they're dead. You've got to dare, you've got to be a go-getter. 3, stop becoming social media tigers. All you do is sit back at telephone and a laptop, and you abuse people as you like and do nothing, and you offer no alternative. Get off your back seats. If you think we're not doing it well, show leadership. I offered it at 28. With all due respect, I offer the baton to you. In the next 17 months, I'm out of the scene. If I'm your obstacle, get ready.
And so thank you for being so kind to grant us this interview. I'm so pleased we've been given the rare privilege of having the honor of someone I see as an Igbo legend who's given us his time. And we're having this event today. It's in London. It's Ohaneze Ndi Igbo UK Igbo Day. And subsequently, I think it's going to be happening every other year. So we hope to see you around, sir, to be, and as you go back, hopefully you take back the good news that we in the UK are doing a lot to represent Igbo land. So thank you very much, sir.
And I thank you for this initiative.
Yes, thank you very
much. And I hope you grow in deep somehow.
Yes, sir. We've been on the podium. It's Spencer, your host. Please tune into Prime View Television on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. We're here every week for you on Thursdays between the hours of 7 and 9. And keep watching, keep following, stay focused. Thank you very much.